Well, hello everyone, Texie88 here and welcome to another retro gaming review. And now I'm giving you the Sentinel, which came out in 1986 courtesy of Firebird software. Now, what you got to do is absorb the Sentinel and replace him as ruler of each landscape. And then once you've done that, you transfer to where he was and then hyperspace. And each time you complete a level, you get an entry code, so you can pretty much continue from where you left off on a future gaming session. Now, this was quite revolutionary, and it's one of the earliest cases of solid 3D polygon graphics being used. So I'm going to use keyboard. The Sentinel, press any key. Now that's what the Sentinel looks like. That's who you're trying to absorb. Don't worry, it'll make sense in a moment once I get the game going if you haven't seen this game before. Now, landscape number, this is where you'd key in a landscape number if you had one, but because I'm starting afresh, I just press return here, / enter here. So there's a lie of the land, and although it's a bit hard to see because of the monochrome, the Sentinel's near the foreground, slightly to the left of centre. And you always start on the lowest point of any landscape you start on. So we'll just get this going. Now, the Sentinel gradually, the Sentinel rotates every so often. Sometimes he rotates clockwise, sometimes he rotates anti-clockwise. Whichever way he rotates, he'll stick to for the rest of that landscape. So you use that as tactics to try and get but bear in mind, if he catches sight of you, he will gradually drain your energy until he kills you. So if he does catch sight of you, you've got to get out of his gaze as soon as you possibly can. So what you do, you actually need to look for things that you can absorb, and the Sentinel won't do anything until I absorb my first thing, and more often than not, what you'll be absorbing is trees. I'm going to see if I can find the Sentinel first. Now, I can only absorb trees if I can see what actual square they're on. See, these ones up here are on a higher plane than I am, so I can't see what square they're on. So I'll have to get high enough to be able to absorb them. There's the Sentinel. He's got his back to me at the moment. And as I said, until I absorb my first tree or whatever, he's not going to move an inch. So hopefully this is a tree I can absorb. Yeah, as you can see in the top left corner, you can see 3 robots and a boulder. That is my energy level. If that completely drains, I will die. So I've just placed a boulder and another one and a robot on top of that. Now I'm going to transfer to that robot. I am now going to be in that robot I've just built. And when you regain control, you always face where you've just transferred from. So make sure you absorb the robot you've left behind, because they'll help to replenish energy. Right, he's starting to turn towards me, so I'm going to transfer over there. Boulder. boulder, robot, transfer. So now I'm absorbing those things I built earlier. Oh, damn it. You might be thinking, why did that boulder turn into a tree? Well, just before I transferred, the Sentinel caught sight of me. So whatever's anything that's not a tree, he will gradually drain until it becomes a tree. Which means you don't manage to replenish as much energy as you did previously. Oh god, I was lucky. He just that moment caught a glimpse of me. So I've got to quickly absorb as much of this as I can before you... Oh, you bastard. Ugh, you absolute bastard. Each tree is worth 1 energy point, each boulder is worth 2, and each robot is worth 3. And if you see a yellow robot in the upper bit, then that's worth 5 regular robots. It's just a shorthand. So I'm going to absorb all these trees. Considering this is an 8-bit computer and considering it's handling some pretty complex graphics for the time, it's surprising how much it's actually coping with without running at the kind of speed that a snail would be proud of. See, there's one of those yellow robots in the top left corner I was mentioning. That's worth 5 of the regular robots. As I said, it's just a shorthand. Right, I better start being quick. So he's facing over there. Now I've ascertained that he's rotated. See, he just rotated anti-clockwise in 45-degree increments. So boulder, 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 robot, transfer. Now let's absorb that. Because I don't want that bugger turning into a tree. Right, now I'm higher than his level. I can now absorb him. You absorb him exactly the same way you absorb everything else. And then I just place a robot where he was. Transfer to that. Now, once you've defeated the Sentinel, you can't actually absorb anything anymore. So now all I've got to do is hyperspace from that pedestal on which the Sentinel stood to complete this landscape. Hyperspacing can also be used if you're in dire emergencies, such as if the Sentinel caught sight of you and is draining your energy and you just haven't got time to place another robot somewhere else. You can just quickly get out of there, and it'll hyperspace you to a completely different part of the landscape. Now, there's one of those 8-digit codes I was telling you about. Now, if I were to stop and make a note of that number, I could continue from where I left off and just key in that number at the prompt, and then I'll be able to continue from that. and you don't always get given the same number even if you complete the exact same level. The way it works is it's with the landscapes, it's the landscape number which you've just come from plus how much energy you've got after you hyperspaced. So we'll go on to another world. So that was Sentinel landscape 9. Secret entry code 269457444. It said landscape 9 at the top of the screen when it gave me that 8-digit number. So that's the level we've just unlocked. Now, sometimes there are other enemies besides the Sentinel to worry about. Sometimes you get at least one sentry, and they are just as dangerous as the Sentinel. You don't have to absorb the sentries, but you will obviously get more energy if you do. And it also means it's one less thing that can catch sight of you and drain your energy. It's hard enough with just the Sentinel. So on to this next bit. And you can also press U to do a U-turn. I'm now going to be facing exactly 180 degrees to where I was. That you doing a U-turn also sets off the Sentinel for rotation. I don't know which way he's rotating at the moment. Until I catch sight of him, I'm not going to know that. Trouble is, I can't even see him at the moment. Where is he? I mean, modern gamers are probably looking at these graphics and laughing their asses off. But you've got to remember, this is an 8-bit game from 1986. The hardware and memory in those days was extremely limited and quite expensive. So there was a limit as to what kind of thing, graphics and so forth, that they were capable of doing. Right. It really is a clever and absorbing game. Sorry, bit of a bad pun there, absorb. Oh shit, he can see me. That's what that pulsating bar in the top right corner is. He can see, and as you can see, he's draining my energy, so I've got to get out of there quick. If I'd stayed there, he would have eventually drained all my energy and I would have died. You bastard. So if he can see me, that means he must have been able to... Oh, shit. Which way is he rotating, though? That's the only thing I don't yet know. Right. He's rotating clockwise this time, so... So it gives me a bit of breathing space to get to a better vantage points to absorb from. Right, that's where I've just transferred from. Now I'm going to absorb some trees. Build up my energy in the top left corner a little. I can't absorb that tree because I can't see what square it's on. But I can absorb this one. And maybe some of those ones in the background. That "doop" sound is what the sound that every time the Sentinel rotates. So every time I hear that sound, I know he's rotated clockwise 45 degrees. Now, the reason I've transferred to somewhere so close to me is so I can absorb both the robot I've just transferred from and the 2 boulders I put it on earlier to give myself a bit of an energy boost. Ooh, right, so he's facing over there. So I better get myself over there as well. Because he's very close to being able to see me. So I want to get out of there before he has a chance to, and hopefully I can absorb that robot I've just transferred from before he sees it and turns it into a boulder and then into a tree. Good. I've absorbed that tree as I can see what square it's on. I still can't see what square that other tree is on, so that will have to wait. I can't get that one. Even though you've only seen me build up to 2 boulders, you can actually build as many as you like as long as you've got the enough energy to build more. I can absorb that tree now. With trees, as I said, as long as you can see what square they're on, you can absorb them. If you're on a low vantage point that's preventing you from seeing the square that the actual base of the tree is standing on, then you won't be able to absorb it no matter what. Ooh, nice lot of trees. I won't be able to get. I doubt I'll be able to get that one in the background though. The one on the left. This one's all right, so I can see the square, but that one I don't think I can see the square it's on. No, I can't get that one. Right, absorb that one. So I've got 8 robots worth of energy. I'm gonna have to go somewhere else now because I'm pretty sure that the Sentinel's gonna. Speaking of which, I can now build behind him because he's facing over to the right. So better be quick though. That and that and that other boulder. Now hopefully I'll be able to absorb Yes, I can. Here we go. Bye bye, Sentinel. Now just place a robot where he stood. Transfer. And hyperspace. That wasn't a glitch. That was just, I was just literally looking at the sky. So landscape 30,033 47216743. I'm going to do another world, and hopefully I'll be able to show you one that has sentries in it as well as the Sentinel. Landscape number 0033. Secret entry code 47216743. I don't think this one has a sentry on it as well. I think it's just the Sentinel again, but as I said, it can sometimes be a bit tricky to see because of the monochrome of this overview. But it looks like the lowest point is in the foreground there, because there's the Sentinel at the back on the right. I mean, whatever happens, I won't continue after this one. I'll wind up the review after that. So I'm just going to get a quick lie of the land to see what I can see, and then I won't actually do any kind of absorbing until I got a very good idea of where I am. Hopefully I'll be able to see where the Sentinel is. Right, there's 2 trees there I can absorb already. I can't absorb those ones because I can't see what square they're on. There's another one I can absorb. Yeah. This really is a very clever game, especially for the mid-1980s on a home computer. I mean, to think you're actually getting solid polygon graphics on an 8-bit machine with 48 kilobytes of RAM. Now polygon graphics are everywhere in gaming, but back then, getting this on a home computer with such small memories, it was just unbelievable. I can't get that one because I can't see what square it's on. But there was that other one I saw when I was panning over. Yeah, this one. I just press the space bar to activate and deactivate the crosshair. Right, I think I'm just going to build one boulder and then a robot on this square. Transfer. I still don't know where the Sentinel actually is in relation to me. I think I've got a rough idea where he is, but I couldn't actually see him. And hopefully I'll be able to absorb that tree on that ledge there. Yes, good. 4 robots worth of energy. This tree. You do get some slowing down where you rotate into more complicated bits, but it's not unbearable, especially when you consider when the game came out. sure that that Sentinel's rotated pretty much a full rotation and still haven't seen me, so maybe I'm still in an area where he can't get a clear line of sight to me. Because I still haven't seen him. Now, where can I transfer? Well, I know where I can transfer, basically anywhere where I can see a square. Because I have to be able to see a square to build my first boulder on it. It's not quite so pedantic when it comes to second and subsequent boulders and then the robot on top of that. Right, that Sentinel's definitely rotated at least one full rotation, still not seen me, so whatever. I've found a safe spot here. And it definitely is the Sentinel and no one else with him. There would have been more of those sounds of rotation if there were. Because so whenever there are sentries in there, they don't necessarily turn at the same time as the Sentinel. Just got to hope and pray I haven't just suddenly transferred straight into his line of sight, otherwise I'm going to be in trouble. Right, so I'll just look down so I can absorb these. Still can't get that tree on that was on the right there, but I can get this one. Or is it? Or maybe I can't. I can't. Sometimes it's a bit difficult to pinpoint the square that a tree is on. You may have to get closer in order if you're desperate for it. This one I'll be able to do though. Still haven't actually caught sight of the Sentinel. Where is he? Damn it, I can't absorb that robot. I can't see what square it's on. Such a cool game. What got me into doing this review is on the other week. Oh shit! I've got to get out of his gaze. He can see me. Right, I'm gonna I'm gonna put a robot there and transfer quickly. Right. Quickly absorb as much of this as I can before he turns it into trees and the like. Damn it. I'm hoping that where I've transferred, I'll also be able to get the robot I transferred from before the one. Oh shit! Oh god! Where am I going to go? So I get the feeling he's rotating clockwise again, given where I transferred from, and it only took him two rotations to. To absorb this and. That's actually what I was trying to absorb from. Sometimes whenever he sees, whenever he catches sight, sometimes whenever he catches, or a sentry catches sight of you, it's him. That's the first time I've actually seen him. So I'm going to put a boulder there, robot on top of that, transfer. Quickly absorb that before we turned it into a boulder and then a tree. U-turn. Right, there's the sentry's pedestal there. And he's got his back to me. That's excellent. Just what I need. But I can't absorb him yet because I'm not on a high enough. I need to get, as previously, I need to get high enough to be able to see what. I'm just going to transfer to there so I can absorb the robot and that I've just transferred from, and the boulder that I put it on. It'll just give me a bit more energy with which to use against the Sentinel. So as I was saying, sometimes the Sentinel or a sentry can only see half of you, and if that's the case, they won't drain your energy while they do that, but they can place this very quickly rotating enemy called a meanie. It's a snake-like enemy that if it doesn't necessarily kill you unless you're really low on energy, but and you can absorb it if you're quick enough. But if it turns towards you, then it will forcibly hyperspace you. And hyperspacing costs you a robot's worth of energy. And I'm building behind him because he's looking over to the left at the moment. Transfer. He must have been slightly looking to the right of where I was. Well, I was wrong. He was actually rotating anti-clockwise. So I'm going to quickly Good. I managed to get that before we turned it into a tree. Or a boulder first, then a tree. Right, there he is. There's my nemesis. Bye-bye, robot. Transfer. And as I said, once you've absorbed the Sentinel, you can't actually absorb anything else. You can still lay things, but you can't absorb anymore. And now I just hyperspace, and that's that world completed. I did quite well there. I went straight from landscape 33 to landscape 54. So as you can tell, I had the equivalent of 21 points worth of energy once I'd hyperspaced. So I'm going to wind up this review now. I was hoping that I'd be able to show you a level with sentries in it, but sadly that didn't happen. So That's the Sentinel, a 1986 game by Firebird Software, released for the 48K ZX Spectrum. Because 1986 was the year that the 128K Spectrum came out in the United Kingdom, unfortunately there's no separate version for that. But don't hold that against it. The Sentinel is a particularly absorbing, groundbreaking, genuinely tense game. It does actually shit you up every time a sentry or the Sentinel catches sight of you, or even half of you, because that does cause you to go into a bit of panic mode as you try and get somewhere where you can't be seen anymore, at least for even if it's only briefly. So, graphics. Now, I'm going to compare this to what would have been available at the time, because it is silly to compare graphics to even 16 or 32-bit machines, or even especially the games of today, where polygons with texture mapping and solidity is pretty much every game that's released on the computer or console, is it? With some very rare exceptions here and there. But graphics very good for their time, very detailed, monochrome, but as anyone who's familiar with the Spectrum's attribute limitations will know why that had to be the case. It's clear what things are, despite the comparative crudity of the graphics. With boulders and trees and robots are very easily distinguished, and the sentries and the sentinels are just as easily distinguishable. As you saw, even when you saw the Sentinel in the distance, you could still see enough of detail on him to know which way he was facing, which is a big plus considering the limitations of the hardware. Sound, it's got some nice sampled riffs every time you transfer or hyperspace and the like, and those other bits, and you get that sort of hissing sound when you absorb and create things, and you also get that distinctive sound whenever an enemy sees you or even sees half of you. You'll know if an enemy sees half of you because only half that bar in the top right corner of the main playing window will be buzzing. So gameplay, it does have about approximately 10 different main control methods, but when you've got, once you got the gist of it, it really isn't that much of a bind to be able to play it, and you'll soon have the basics down pat before you know it. I mean, the occasional ones like hyperspace, you don't really need to worry about that for the most part. It's only if you'd only hyperspace at the end of a level or in an absolute dire emergency, if you just didn't have time to create a robot somewhere else to get out of the gaze of either the sentry or the sentinel. So the rest of them sort of make a lot of sense anyway. And it really isn't. Really doesn't take that long to get used to it. On the downside, because of the demands of the way the game is done, there are times when it does noticeably pan slower than other times. But it really isn't that unbearable at the best. As you saw, for the most part, it ran at a pretty respectable rate given the hardware limitations and what it was having to deal with throughout the gameplay. Longevity, well, there are 9,000. There are literally 10,000 landscapes in the game, and you get that a different 8-digit unique code depending on how well you do in the one you just got, even if you were to try again and ended up getting given the same landscape number. So that's many different combinations. So longevity is pretty good. So I expect anyone who bought that back in the day and really got into it would have been would have had fun with the game for a very long time. And it's so satisfying when you manage to complete a level, especially if you manage to complete one that had at least one sentry in it, as well as the Sentinel. So even though it does have some slowdown issues, I still wouldn't hesitate to give the Sentinel 9 out of 10. It is a very clever game, especially when you consider that it came out in 1986 on an 8-bit machine with 48 kilobytes of RAM. And it is rightfully considered to be a classic as well as groundbreaking from a technical aspect, as I mentioned earlier. So anyway, that's the Sentinel on the ZX Spectrum. Hope you enjoyed this review. Texie88 out.